Hey, what's up, you guys? Long time no see. This is a long awaited video, so I got it for you guys. So I know you guys love to see me eat onion rings, and every time I come back to tell you I'm sorry, I eat my onion rings. So I got my ranch right here. This food is from Ari's, so I'm gonna eat my onion rings for you guys. Look at that. Onion rings and ranch hit every time. So I do got a story time for you today. It's not a story time. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Maybe it's sort of a discussion rather than a story time. And you know, we're just gonna discuss. I'm gonna discuss to you guys because I know that I talk about. If you guys know me, if this is your first time seeing me, go back, scroll on my videos, check them out, go through a marathon, get some food, and watch all my videos. They're good. They're not boring. You're worth it hungry. Okay? But if you're new here, you know, I always tell stories about my biological parents and my childhood and stuff like that. I love sharing with you guys. When I first started talking about my childhood and my parents, my narcissistic mother, you know, along with the woman that raised me, that took me from my narcissistic mother, I call her my angel. She's my mom. I don't like to call her my aunt, but she is my aunt. Biologically, she's my aunt. I don't call her aunt now. I call her mom. So if you ever hear me saying I'm at my mom's or I'm with my mom, I am talking about my aunt. But she is my mom, if you know what I mean. But also, you know, I was raised by a couple different, you know, men in my mom's life, and then my biological dad, and then my mom's current husband, because my aunt was married twice. So I have like some conflicting stories, but they're all good stories, and I was raised by these three different men. And they all had not raised, but they all had a different part in my life, you know. So her current husband is a more stable, more father figure, more, you know, more, how could I call him? More stern and stable type of father figure in my life right now. He's a great grandpa to my kids. You know, he stepped up. He loves my kids like their own and stuff like that. So, you know, just to get kind of like touch bases with all, you know, all sides. Sometimes it could get confusing, and sometimes it could get confusing to myself. So I'm like, what am I talking about? This and that and that and this. I don't even know anymore. I'm lost. Well, I want to talk to you guys about my biological father, the man that the ball sack I came from. Okay, so my biological DNA father is still alive. And the only reason why I wanted to talk about him today was because I talk a lot about my mom. I talk about my biological mom. I've talked about stories about my, you know, the woman that raised me, which is my biological father's sister. I'm going to tell you, I have pastrami. Pastrami cam. Okay, so I got a pastrami from Ari's with cheese and pickles. This is a classic. If you live in Montebello or you live around LA area, y'all know pastramis from Ari's are the bomb. So, anyway, so I wanted to talk about my biological father because I had an epiphany the other day, and you know, I'm not gonna say that I dwell on things. I don't dwell on things. Things don't hurt me anymore. I just kind of think about things, and I kind of, you know, he's my biological father. There's no way that I could forget about him. There's no way that I could. I'm having a harder time letting him go than my biological mother, you know? Things that she has done to me, you know, because of the trauma, it does pass by my brain. And I'm not going to say that it it could totally leave you, because it can't. It's memories, it's things you've been through. So it does come up in your brain. And but I'm healed from it. I feel somewhat healed from a lot of stuff that I've been through. And I feel like, as far as my biological father, I feel like I'm like, my cut is almost closed. I feel like it's a cut, it's a wound that is still a little bit open, and is taking its time to close, because I did have to let my biological father go. Like, I had to, like, completely just let him go out of my life. Like, I had to let him go, like, if he was an ex-boyfriend. Like, that's just an example, you know what I mean? Because he doesn't want to have anything to do, like, I think he does want to have something to do with me, but because my biological mother is a narcissistic person, she's very narcissistic. She had a stronghold on all his children for a long time, and it took us some time to get away from her. Being in a narcissistic household is like being in a cult. It's hard to get out. People around you could see what you're going through and question why you haven't got out yet, but you don't know what you're going through until you get out. Believe that. Believe it. In narcissistic relationships too, when you're in a narcissistic relationship with a partner, it's the same thing. Just right here, if you're having a bad day, if you're going through it, this will take it all away. Let me tell you that. So, I had an epiphany the other day, because I always loved my dad. I always felt like my mom was the victim. I mean, my dad was the victim. Sorry, my bad, scratch that. I always felt like my dad was the victim, and a victim of my mom's narcissism. Ever since I was a little girl, no matter what my dad did, I always loved him. Even though I knew he was not a narcissist. Even though I knew he was an alcoholic. My bad. Sorry, this food is so bomb. Like, I can't even think anymore. Like, I'm literally having like a food orgasm. That's how bomb this is. Like, I'm literally having a fucking food orgasm. Like, ooh. Okay. So, this has cheese and pickles. Did I tell you that? Alright, just make sure. So I literally would defend my dad ever since I was a little girl. When my mom and dad would fight, I would take my dad's side, because I just felt always like so bad for him. I felt like he was a quiet man. But as I got older, I started to think like, damn, like, my dad was an alcoholic. He was never there. He was always running away from my mom. Like, always, like, we wouldn't find him sometimes. We would find him drunk as hell. Was that a gunshot? We would always find him drunk as hell. We would always find him, like, on Skid Row. We would find him at the park drunk as hell. We would go looking for him everywhere. We couldn't find him. Like, he wouldn't come home from work. It was just a mess. If anybody else has been through that, let me know in the comments with an alcoholic father. Where you would literally have to go look for him. I heard chile. The chile was hot. So we literally... Oh, the chile. Man, that chili fucked me up. I know I shouldn't have done that. That chili went straight to the throat. So, we would always have to go looking for my dad. And we would have to call hospitals. We had to call his job. He didn't have a cell phone back then. We had to call his job. We would literally have to do all that on a goose egg hunt, like with my mom. And my mom, like, just literally, like, flipping out. She would take out all her, how she felt towards my dad on us. Like, we had to, like, take the butt end of it. And she wasn't shy about saying it. Like, yeah, like, if your dad doesn't come home, I'm taking it on you. And she would straight up say that to me. So, she would punish me if my dad, like, if her and my dad were not doing good, she would punish me. And I would tell my dad this. And I think she did it so, like, to tell my dad, like, honestly. But my dad never gave a fuck. He would still do it. Funny thing is my dad was an alcoholic worker. Like, I think he used work to leave my mom and us, you know? He was always a really nice man. Like, I don't know. He was a nice man because he never hit us. He never yelled at us. He never was mean to us. But at the same time, the shit that he was doing, and he always worked. But at the same time, he was never emotionally available for us. He would drink and go to work. Drink and go to work. He would take vacations on work and stuff, and we would try to act like a happy family and go to Disneyland and do stuff like that. Like, that would be things that we would do on his vacations. We would try to get it together and, you know, get my brothers and us and my mom and my dad and go and do things. But it was never like a good time, because the whole way to Disneyland or to the park or to the beach or wherever we went, my mom and dad were fighting. And it was just like, why did we even come? Why are we even doing this? Like, and when we would get there, we would have to, like, try to get ourselves together from the trauma of my mom and dad fighting the whole way. And most of the time it was because my dad wanted to drink on the way to Disney, on the way to everywhere we went. He had a drink. He couldn't be sober, and he would be grouchy if he wasn't, and it would be mostly towards my mom being grouchy. So I just, you know, those are just some of the things that I went through with him as a father. Even though I knew my dad was an alcoholic, even if I knew my dad was doing all this stuff, I still loved my dad, and I still never blamed my dad. Up until now, up until I had an epiphany, you know, I'm 30-something years old, and I just, like, you know what, like, maybe my dad never even loved us. You know, maybe he was the part of the problem as well. Like, he is the part of the problem. Like, he didn't give a fuck about us, you know? He really didn't. He couldn't give a fuck enough to stop drinking. You know what I mean? And he couldn't give a fuck enough to get his shit together, you know? And I've talked to him recently. I had a conversation with him now, like, recently. Like, I think it's maybe been like a year ago, that I got him by himself to have a conversation with him. And it was very weird. It was very emotional for me. I thought I was going to be able to talk to him, but I couldn't get my words together. I couldn't get myself together. I started bawling. And I basically just told him, like, you know, I need you as a dad. Like, I need you here. Like, I need you with, like, I need your help. You know, at the time I was going through it. So I really needed him. And I don't know, in my perfect world, I thought maybe my dad would be here to help me with my kids and to, you know, be a grandfather, and maybe I could get some extra help, you know. Because before, when I was on great terms with my biological mom, they used to help me more. But I thought he wasn't drinking anymore. That's the only reason why I wanted his help, was because I thought he was not drinking anymore. To my knowledge, I had heard that he had stopped drinking. So I'm like, okay, great. Maybe he could help me with my kids now. Maybe he could be a grandpa. Maybe he could be in my life. But the conversation that I had with him was very delirious, very weird. He was talking about that, like, basically, it's better for him to be out of my life so that my mom could also be out of my life, because if he's in my life, my mom's going to be in my life. And, you know, he told me, like, what was up with my mom, and, you know, that they fight a lot about me. You know, I know my mom doesn't like me. I know my biological mother doesn't like me. I know I'm her biggest enemy, which is crazy, which is weird, which is insane, because I just try to live my life, you know, and I've always felt like I was her biggest enemy. And I've already wrapped my head around the fact that that her brain is not wired right. So I'm just happy to have been living my life so peacefully for these past years that I have no contact with her. So I'm good, you know. God is good. I'm protected. I'm loved, and I'm good. I'm so good. So I feel like he says that it's better for him to stay out of my life. Unless, if I want to be in their life, I have to go, like, talk to my mom again, basically. But I was like, I told my dad, like, that's not gonna happen, because I've already done a lot of work letting her go, so that can't happen. He told me that that they went to church, and that my mom's going to therapy, which I doubt it, and that God told him that he needs to take care of my mom. And he said that he prayed about it, and God said that he needed to take care of my mom. And I'm just like, I don't think God would say that. I think God would be a fair God, and he would have said, you know what, you need to take care of your children because you weren't there for them. Half of their life was fucked up because you decided to be an alcoholic. Now that you're not drinking, I think you should be there for your grandchildren before you die, and I think you should be there for your kids, for your actual children, before you die, before you pass away. Not take care of a grown-ass woman that could already take care of herself. And she is part of the reason why our whole family is fucked up, and she is part of the reason why everything is fucked up. And, you know, I didn't say that. I didn't end up saying that, but I did end up just saying, like, okay, like, I left it like that, but this is my thoughts now. This is my thoughts now, thinking about it. Is like, you know, I think that God would say, maybe you should be there for your future children and your future grandchildren, and let them know who you are, because they barely even know who you are, you know. But it's just something that I think now that I came to an epiphany, that I don't think he ever loved us. I think he loves my mom, and I think he has, like, somewhat of, like, a trauma bond, or like a trauma, something with trauma that is connected to her, and her manipulation that draws him to her, and he can't love anybody else. Like, he really can't. And I'm like, okay. I understand now. It all makes sense. The question is, for you to not protect us from my mom, and for you to not want to stop drinking for us as your children, and not be there for us in the future, which is now, I don't think you ever loved us. I don't think he ever had a connection with us. I don't think he ever cared enough for us. You know, and I don't know what that is, because I don't know if it's a narcissistic person, because I know narcissistic people don't love people. They don't have the capacity to love people. So I don't know what it is, you know. I don't know what my dad has. And if anybody could, like, if anybody understands me right now, and if anybody has the same issue, do you, like, my question is, do you think that my dad ever loved me? Or do you think my dad ever loved us as children? For everything that, like, he, I don't know, it was weird. It was like he silently did everything. He didn't directly traumatize us, but he indirectly traumatized us by drinking, by making my mom, you know, by disappearing, making my mom, you know, take us all around the city looking for him. You know, my mom crying, saying that, you know, oh my God, what if your dad's hurt? What if your dad's, you know, overdosed? What if your dad's dead? What if your dad's in the hospital? What if your dad's locked up? Like, we would literally have to call, like, police station, hospitals. It was just like drama. And him putting us through that was abuse. It was abuse. So I just don't understand. Like, I just don't really know. Like, the question is like, I feel like he never loved us, but I don't know. What do you guys think? But with that being said, I love you guys. Stay chunky, because chunky is beautiful. I hope you love this video. I will be making more. I have more to come. Me and Vato's next video is going to be on addiction. So we're going to be talking about our addictions and different addictions and stuff like that. So that's going to be a good video. So stay tuned. You guys, don't forget to like this video. Also, I read all your comments. If your comment is shown down below, that means I read it, because my comments are hidden until I read them. So if I let them go to the into the population, that means I read them. So I love you guys. Stay chunky, because chunky is beautiful. Don't forget to subscribe, share with your family, share with your friends, let everybody know about Miss Chunky. I'm still here in the motherfucking game. I ain't leaving. I love you guys, and peace out.